grade 12 fitness leadership class, and we were given our passion project. What this is we have to use our passions and impact the lives of others. And I'm very passionate about mental health. So what I decided to do was I wanted to impact people using mental health and happiness. Mr. Suey brought to my attention a woman named Gillian Mandich. I did some research and I found that she did not only have an inspiring message, but tips on how to be happy. And I think we can all agree, putting jobs and money aside is our main goal in life. So I want to now welcome the fitness enthusiast, the chef, and the TV show host, Dr. Gillian Mandich.
Good morning. How's everybody doing? Standing between you guys and lunch? Yeah? No? So, my name is Dr. Gillian Mandich. I'm from London, Ontario as well. I went to St. Thomas Aquinas. And I actually just finished my PhD 2 weeks ago at Western. So I'm done. So, I've actually been in school since high school until 2 weeks ago. That's a long time. So now, I'm a doctor of happiness. Thank you. Have any of you guys in this room gone to your guidance counselor and told them you wanted to be a doctor of happiness? No? I didn't either. I didn't even know it was a thing until partway through my university career, and I'll tell you about that in a second. And so what I'm most passionate about is learning all about happiness. How can we use happiness to improve our physical health, our mental health? And so not only do I do research about happiness at Western, I also do a lot of media talking about different health topics. So I go on a talk show every month called The Social, and I'm their happiness expert there. So each month I have a happiness topic, and I go on and we talk about it. So for example, last week I did a segment about how to actually have a happy holiday. Because we say it all the time, but nobody's ever really taught us how to do that. So I do that, and then I also go on a breakfast television, which is a morning show in Toronto. And again, same thing, I'm their happiness expert and talk about different happiness topics. And not only that, I also work with a couple different brands doing media and marketing and promotion, brands like Reebok and Cliff Bar, where we take happiness messaging, mental health, fitness, wellness, and bring it into video and TV and radio and podcasts and all that good stuff. Because at the end of the day, what I'm most passionate about is figuring out how to live the best life ever. Show of hands, who here wants to live the best life ever? Yeah? There we go. Thanks, guys. And so, when I was at Western, my degrees are all in health science, and I was studying health and wellness and trying to figure out what does research tell us, and what do I think leads to the best life ever. And it turns out, and I'm going to share with you some research in a bit about why happiness is so good, but I thought about it, and if you think right now about your day up until you came into this auditorium, chances are you probably made at least a few decisions that were based on you wanting to be happier today. Maybe the clothes you wore, maybe the text you sent to a friend, maybe what you had for breakfast. So we all, every single day, make decisions based on our desire to be happy. And yet, we're never really taught how to be happy. Like, right? You come to school, you learn amazing things like math and science and chemistry and art, but there's no happiness class in school, is there? No, I think so. So for me, I wanted to talk to you guys today about happiness, and I wanted to share with you some of the things that I wish I learned when I was in high school, that I wish there was a course that taught me some of these things, because it turns out there are things that we can actually do, and I'm going to teach you some so that when you leave here today, you can be happier. Does that sound good? Awesome. So, yay! I love the enthusiasm, guys. It's great. So, when we think about happiness, and like I talked about, there's no real course on it, but we're searching for it. So this picture here is a screenshot I took on my laptop of the Google homepage. Because you know when you start typing in Google and it tries to autofill and tries to guess what you're trying to search for based on popular answers? So if you type in how to be, the first thing that comes up is happy. And that's about how to become rich, a real estate agent, or pretty. So in terms of what people are searching in Google, happiness is right at the top. And we hear about happiness all the time in our popular culture, right? There's songs, Pharrell sings about happiness. We hear things like, happiness is yelling bingo. Remember those ads? Or, no, I know, the other group didn't remember them either, so I think I'm dating myself. This is an ad for Coke, and they say, if you open Coke, you open happiness. And if you're not a Coke person, but you're a Pepsi person, that's okay, because they weigh in on happiness too. They say happiness is choice. Hashtag just so you know. And this is a billboard that I took a picture of when I was in New York City. And it says, happiness is crispy tacos arriving just as you walk through the door. Yeah. I saw a couple smiles over here. So it's confusing, right? Because we're told so many different things. This is a picture I took outside the Via station here in London. It says, happiness is delicious food and a huge screen. And then, I'm sure we can relate to this cartoon, the guy says, I can't talk right now, I'm simulating happiness on Facebook. Because now even in social media, we can go on and we can tell people our mood based on a drop-down menu of how we're feeling or an emoji. And so, with all these things, it becomes very confusing figuring out what happiness is and what it actually is, true, deep, meaningful happiness. And usually, when I tell people, hi, my name is Gillian, I research happiness, the number one thing I get asked is, okay, Gillian, so what's the magic pill? What do I need to know? What do I need to buy or do or say or think in order to be happy? Do you guys want to know that?
Yes.
Yeah? Do you guys want to know that?
Yeah.
There we go. So, turns out there's no pill for happiness. Based on all of my research, I've been at Western for 10 years, and my personal experience, you can't take a happiness pill. There's nothing that you can buy or wear or eat that's going to bring you deep, meaningful, lasting happiness. You are the pharmacist, and happiness actually comes from within. It's something that we create from within. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you some of that, because happiness matters for so many reasons. So first of all, in terms of our physical health, happiness is really good for promoting health. So people that are happy, when you compare them to people that aren't happy, they have lower rates of cardiovascular disease, they have stronger immune systems, they heal faster from injury, they are more likely to get better sleep, live longer, and make better nutritional choices. So from one thing, we have this far-reaching opportunity in our life to enhance our health. And it's a big difference. Show of hands here. How many of you guys know that smoking is bad for your health? Right? Yes, we know that. And it's really bad, right? We know that smoking is really bad for our health. So as bad as smoking is for our health, happiness is that much enhancing on the other side. So it really does create this huge impact on our health just from focusing on our happiness. And the other thing that's really cool about happiness is that happy people, they're better for everybody else around them, for their family, for their friends, for their classmates. So happy people are more cooperative, they're better team players, they're more likely to volunteer both their time and their money, they are better problem solvers, and they're rated as more likable when people aren't as happy. So when you focus on your happiness, you see benefits in your physical health, your mental health, as well as the relationships with the people that you have around you. Isn't that cool? Yeah. And so when I was researching, I was studying, and I thought, that's really cool. I want to study happiness. I want to learn how I can be happy, because like I said, I was never taught that in school. And so my research background is actually childhood obesity. My master's degree I did at Western in child and youth health. And as I was studying childhood obesity, I started thinking, because my area of specialization is health promotion, and I started getting a little bit confused because the number on a scale doesn't necessarily tell you if you're healthy or not, right? You can be overweight or obese and still be healthy, and you can be not overweight or obese and not be healthy. So there's more to our health than just our weight or our physical appearance. A lot of our health actually comes from what's going on inside, in our heads, in our mental health. And that can often dictate how we feel, our energy levels, our perspective. So I decided that that's what I wanted to study. I wanted to figure out, how can we make ourselves happier? So I just finished a study at Western with undergraduate students, and I needed to recruit 60 students to be in my study. So I was going to teach them skills to be happier, and I needed 60. I sent out one email to all the undergrads at Western, and I had 1,282 students volunteer to be in my study. Yeah, is that cool? And I think what's really exciting is even the fact that I'm here talking to you guys today, we're really starting to have more of a conversation about mental health and about happiness, because we're starting to really understand that it really does matter and it drives so many of our behaviors. And we all want to be happy. That's kind of the goal in life, right? So when we think about that, I started doing my research and I started learning all about happiness. And one of the things that I was really surprised, the first thing that really shocked me was that what I believed about happiness was completely wrong. So I used to think that I would be happy when, fill in the blank, right? Like I would tell myself, I'll be happy when you finish school, when you get this certain boyfriend, when you get this car, when you buy these clothes, whatever it is. And it turns out that that idea of happiness is completely incorrect. So I'll give you an example of the way we think in terms of fitness, right? So we have The Rock up here who's having a crazy workout. And The Rock would never go into the gym and have that workout and then leave the gym and say, you know what, I'm fit. I have reached fitness. I'm done. I don't need to work out now. Right? He would never do that. When we exercise, we go to the gym on a regular basis if we want to get strong. Or if you make a smoothie in the morning and you put in a whole bunch of superfoods and kale, spinach, all these healthy things, you would never drink your smoothie and then say, you know what, I've reached nutritional wellness, I'm good, right? We would never do that. But yet for some reason with happiness, we tend to think that we're going to be happy and we're going to arrive there and it's a thing. But it turns out that happiness, just like exercise, just like healthy eating, is a practice. It's something that we work on every single day. So we need to shift our thinking about happiness. And this was probably the biggest thing that I've learned when I've done all my happiness research, is that we are taught often in our culture to have what I call a Christopher Columbus approach to happiness. So Christopher Columbus was an explorer, right? You guys took history? And he set out to find the new world. And so that's like that destination-focused happiness that I was talking about. Now, I think that instead of thinking about happiness like Christopher Columbus, we can think of it like this guy. Do you guys know who he is? It's a caricature. It's Beethoven. Yeah, good job. So Beethoven is a composer, right? He writes beautiful music. And so I think that when we think about happiness like Beethoven writes music, it changes our perspective of what happiness is. Because if you look at the sheet of music up here, there's high notes, there's low notes, there's longer notes, there's shorter notes, there's pauses and spaces in between the notes. And that's kind of what happiness really is like. Some days we feel happier, we have higher notes. Some days we don't feel as happy, we have lower notes. Some days we're quiet. Some days we have long, loud notes. But the goal would never be to just play the happy note all the time. Because then what would happen? We just hear one long, continuous tone, right? And so when we start to think about happiness in that way, it totally shifts everything about what we think about happiness. Like for example, say you got up this morning and you're scrolling through Facebook or Instagram. Sometimes when you do that, when you're done, you might feel happier, you might feel good about yourself and your life or what you're doing that day. And sometimes when you scroll, you might feel inadequate or not good enough. And especially when you're comparing what people see, because when we post something on social media, we control what that post is. We can filter it, you can Photoshop it, you can change your skin tones, you can change your hair, you can change your waist, whatever you want. And so when we look at social media, we're comparing ourselves to an image of ourselves or other people that isn't even real. And so instead, when we think about happiness as this song instead of as the destination, what happens when you look to something like social media, for example, is you see, like, if you're not feeling that happy today, you're playing a low note. And if someone else is playing a high note, that's okay, because we all have a different song. And every single one of us has different notes that they play every single day. Now, the other thing, so this whole destination, that happiness is not a destination, was really like an earth-shattering thing for me when I was learning about happiness. The other thing that was really surprising to me was I found out that the goal in life is not to be happy all the time. Did you guys know that? Like I always thought, I just thought that the goal in life is to be happy all the time. You want to be happy and you don't want to be sad. Turns out that that's not the case. What really is the goal is, see these little arrows here? What happens is when you practice skills that are highly correlated with happiness, and I'm going to teach you some in just a minute, The goal is when you have your lows, so you're having your down days, you're not feeling as happy, maybe you're a little sad, depressed, anxious, whatever it is. As you learn to practice happiness, just like you go in the gym and you exercise your muscles, as you learn to practice happiness, those lows, they don't get so low. And the highs, the good parts, get better. So it's almost like you're shifting your entire mood and your emotions over time. And then the other thing is it's totally okay to be sad. If you are going through a breakup or something sad happens, in order to have a healthy emotional development, healthy mental health, the best thing you can do is really feel those emotions. And if you need to reach out and talk to someone, find a friend, find a teacher, find a guidance counselor to go through it, absolutely. But what happens is the goal is don't push those emotions away because they're part of your song. But you also want to keep in mind that you don't want to play that note for a really long time. It's when we marinate in those emotions that we get into tricky waters. So the way we navigate that is by focusing on our mindset and how we think. So our mind is a very powerful tool. Our brains are very smart. They're also very lazy sometimes because they like to take the path of least resistance. It's kind of like if you have to drive from your house to your school, you usually take the same route every single day, right? So our brain gets used to what we do, and we actually have to put in work to shift our thinking. So I'm going to show you what I mean. What I want you to do is to say the color in your head, or you can do it out loud if you want. Say the color of the word, don't read the word. Does that make sense? So for example, the first line would be black, pink, purple. Try the other three on your own. Was that really easy? Was it easier than just reading the words, or was it more difficult? So our brain is trained, since we were in grade 1, we were taught how to read. Our brains were told, when we see letters, we put them together and we make words. So that's what our brain always does. We actually have to think about doing something different. So when you see that word and you have to think of the color instead of reading the word, it requires effort. We actually have to tell our brain what it is that we're doing. And so by training our brain, we can actually shift how we feel. And so gratitude is a great way to do that. Show of hands, how many of you guys have ever practiced gratitude before, or know what that is? Oh, more in this group than the last group. Cool. So I'm going to come back to that in a second, but first we're going to do one more little exercise. Is that cool? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. I'm going to invite you to just look around the room and take a mental note of anything blue in the room. So just look around, notice a couple blue things. I'm going to invite you to close your eyes and just be quiet so I know that you guys are done. So with your eyes closed, I'm going to ask you to think about all the red things in the room. Yeah, red. Okay, you can open your eyes. Was it easy to think about all the red things in the room with your eyes closed? No, it wasn't as easy, was it? When we look around the room and we look for blue things, we tend to notice blue things. So there was still the same red things in the room as when there was blue, except we just didn't see them because we weren't looking for them. So that's how gratitude works. When we start to practice gratitude, we start to notice more things that we're grateful for. And when we're grateful, we're happier. It has this really cool correlation in our brain that increases our happiness. So it's a simple thing that we can do to boost our happiness. So, you know the study I was telling you guys about at first, from Western? Yes. So, there you go. Good memory. When we were in the study, one of the things that I taught the students was how to practice gratitude. And they had to do an exercise called 3 Great Things. So what they had to do was every single day, take out a piece of paper and write down 3 great things. 3 things that day that they were grateful for. How long does that take? What, like a minute or 2, would you say? Right, not that long. And so at the end of my study, I measured people's gratitude and people's happiness. And I asked the students, I said, do you guys feel happier? Do you feel more grateful at the end of the study? And do you know what they said? They're like, yeah, you know, maybe a little bit, but not that much. And so what was really interesting is this is what happened. This is a picture up here of all the generations of the iPhone camera. So we got the iPhone 1 all the way to the 6 at the end there. And I remember when I got my first iPhone, how excited I was because I thought it was like the best camera in the world. I was super excited. I thought, oh my goodness, this is amazing. And yet, if you look back, like look at how blurry the first iPhone photo was. But at the time, it didn't seem like that. But what happens is slowly, over time, when we make changes, things change. And we sometimes don't realize it because it happens so slowly. So that's how gratitude works. It's one of those things that every single day you take a minute or two to do it, and then when you look back, things are different. So I'm going to show you just how powerful gratitude is. Okay, so I'm going to ask you guys a question. Show of hands. How many of you guys think you'd be happier if you won the lottery? Yeah. Okay. And then, show of hands. How many of you guys think you'd be happier if you wrote down 3 great things you did every single day? Yes, there's a couple optimists back there. Thanks, guys. So, turns out they did an actual research study about this. And this is what they found. So on this graph, I promise I only have one graph, guys. So on this graph, the purple bar, those are people that won the lottery. So researchers went and studied people that won the lottery. And so not surprisingly, right after they won the lottery, you see a huge spike in their happiness. They're happier. And then if you look, that purple bar over 6 months, that's how long the study was, their happiness slowly went down. And it's because the day that you win the lottery, you'd be so excited, right? But then if you went, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks or a month after you won the lottery, do you think you're getting out of bed every day being like, yes, I'm so happy I won the lottery? No. So we get used to it, so it doesn't make us as happy as we might think. Now the cool part of this graph is actually the pink bar, because the pink bar, those are the people that practice gratitude. So they had to write down every single day things that they were grateful for. So at the beginning of the study, the pink bar isn't very high, the pink dot. But then if you look at 3 months, right in the middle there, that's where the 2 lines intersect. So at 3 months, the people that practice gratitude and the people that won the lottery, they were equally as happy. And then the coolest part, I think, is the end there, because the pink dot is statistically significantly higher. So what that is telling us is that at the end of 6 months, the people that practice gratitude were way happier than the people that won the lottery. So that's pretty cool, because we can't control if we're going to win the lottery or not, but we can control if we take some time every day to think about things that we're grateful for. And when we do that, we can actually be happier than if we won the lottery. I usually have someone at this point put up their hand and say, well, what if I won the lottery and I practice gratitude? So you'd probably be really happy then too, right? So when we practice gratitude, it doesn't really matter what you focus on you're grateful for. So these are a bunch of different samples of questions that you can ask. You know, what are some amazing things that happened to you today? You can write about this assembly. What are parts of your body that you like? What are some qualities about your friends that you like? It doesn't matter what questions you ask. What matters is that you reflect on your life and you think about things that you're grateful for. There's also some really good apps out there if you like to use apps on your phone for gratitude. And so what I always say is that because it's one of those things that I told you, it's really slow over time that changes happen. So what you can do is you can actually do a study, a little experiment on yourself. So you can check in with yourself today when you leave and just think about, on a scale of say 1 to 10, how happy do you feel? And then challenge yourself. For the next 30 days, every single day, write down 3 things that you're grateful for, and then check in at the end. Because what's really cool, and what I see in my research all the time, is that when you practice it over time, you see changes, but they're very, very subtle. And when you see those changes, when you see increases in your gratitude, when you see increases in your happiness, because of that, it helps to make those lows not as low, and those highs a little bit higher. And it doesn't just relate to happiness, it really extends to all different emotions. So if you're feeling stressed, you know, you guys have exams coming up in January, or different things going on in your life, stress, anxiety, if you're feeling depressed, if you're feeling any kind of emotions like that, gratitude actually acts like a buffer to help with that. And all it does is it changes our thinking. So we have to actually be deliberate about it. Gratitude doesn't just happen. It's something we actually have to work for. And so with that, when we think about what we do, and we think about our life as a song, we think about happiness as a song, that shifts so much, even though it's such a small thing, because especially in terms of mental health, when we think about how we're feeling every single day, it changes every single day. We have good days, we have bad days, and so I really invite all of you guys here today to just keep in mind this idea that happiness is a song. It's not a destination. You're never going to arrive one day and be happy. And the goal isn't to be happy every single day. What it is figuring out how do you feel right now, and know that each and every one of you in this room, however you're feeling now, you all have the capacity, if you put in some work, to feel happier. Because like I said, there's no magic pill for happiness. You are the pharmacist, and so it's up to each and every one of you to take some responsibility for your happiness and to put in effort to do things like to practice gratitude. Because when you do, then you get to be happier. So with that, that's my my website, which I have a contact me page on there that goes to my email, or social media. So if you guys have any questions or anything like that after the assembly here today, then you guys can reach out. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for having me today to talk about happiness.